Hi there, it's Hayley from the Arch and Olive team, and today I'm just wanting to show you how to use the fountain pen that comes in the March subscription box. So maybe you're a complete beginner and you've never tried a fountain pen before, or maybe you have tried a fountain pen but you've never used a converter before. So this video will cover all of that and hopefully get you started with your fountain pen. So first of all, let's have a quick look at the pen. So when it arrives, this barrel here may be a little bit unscrewed, so just tighten that up and then you can pop off the lid. So here you'll see the fountain pen. So the nib is an M width, which is still quite fine in terms of fountain pens. And then you can see here, nice silver and gold detailing. And if you unscrew the barrel here, I will show you the converter. So if you've used a fountain pen before, you may have had ready pre-filled ink cartridges that pop into here. But what this allows you to do is switch out any inks, any colours, anything that you want to play with really. So this is why this is so fun. So that's the fountain pen. Next in the box came these 3 inks. Now it comes in a nice blue, blue-green and green colour. Just a quick note on inks. Different inks perform differently depending on the viscosity, the different nib that you're using in your pen, to the different paper types. So there's a lot of things that can affect how an ink works. These 3 specifically have been chosen because they work well on our paper with no feathering or bleeding, which I will come to show you on this notepad here. But that's just the inks to start off with. So now we're going to talk about how you can fill the pen with the inks. So the pen will arrive empty, which is how you want it to be to fill. And there's 2 ways that you can actually fill the converter. So I'm going to show you with water, and if you are new to filling fountain pens, I do recommend trying it and playing around with just filling it with water, because then you can figure out the pen without getting ink all over your hands. So the first method is to submerge the full nib into the water or ink, and then there's a little lever here and you pull it back, and you want to pull that all the way back, and you can see there that it's filled with water to about here. Now you don't want to fill it more than that because the ink, depending on how warm or cold it is, can expand, so that's about how much you want in there. Now if you just can see there, this is the little lever that I'm talking about that you want to be pulling up and down. Let me get the water out for you. So you can see here, this is a little lever that you will pull up and down to get in or out the ink. So I'm going to show you that one more time. Submerge the full nib, pull, and there you are. It's full. Now this method is great because you don't have to mess with the pen too much. However, it can leave a lot of ink around the nib of the pen, which you'll then have to wipe off with a paper towel. Or another method is you can take the converter out from the nib and then put the end of the converter and do the exact same thing, pull up that lever and fill the pen. Now, this one then you just have to be careful not to touch the end. It won't drip. As you can see there, the water's not coming out. And then you just insert it into the pen like that, and you've got your ink filled. So let's have a go with ink. So when you are using a real ink, you do want the converter and the pen to be as dry as possible. That's just because introducing any water into the ink can just also introduce bacteria. So try and make sure the pen is nice and dry before you use it, even just wiping it down with a bit of paper towel, like I am now. Amazing. So I'm going to show you this converter method first, just because this one is a little bit trickier when it comes to starting the pen. So I am just going to dip in that ink, pull the converter, And I actually got an air bubble there. So now, if you get an air bubble, just put the ink right back into the bottle and pull it back up again. And then you should be fine. Now, ink. Maybe this one isn't easier. Never mind. Okay, so now that there's actual ink in there, you can see how much that's filled up. I'm going to pop that into the pen. And then I'm going to pop the barrel back on. And let's give this a go. So when you filled it just from the converter, it's now going to take a little bit of time to get through that feed and into the nib. So just start playing, very lightly wiggling. You can see the water coming through from when I did the water trick. And then soon the ink should come through more. If you're impatient, this is where you could dip the nib into the ink. Okay, that's starting to come through nicely now. Now, when you're writing with a fountain pen, you don't want to put too much pressure onto the nib. That's because the prongs here, the ink feeds down here and you can actually push the metal apart. You don't want to do that because your nib is nice and smooth as it is. So you just want very little pressure. Play around with the hand position and just find the smoothest place for you to be writing. And that's about a 45-degree angle. Obviously your hand might put that at a different one, but just see how you can play around to get a nice smooth flow of the nib. I love the variation in this blue here, if you can see it. Now that's the best part of fountain pens, is that you can see that ink and you can see the different variations in the colour, so I hope you have fun with that. Now, as I said, these inks shouldn't feather on the arch and olive paper, and also the M-nib helps that. And what I mean by feathering is when the ink goes down on the paper, sometimes it can expand from the area that you're writing. So you can see little veins of ink trickling through the paper, so it's bleeding through. Now, that shouldn't happen with these. As you can see at the back of here, there's no bleeding through. I'll just write a little bit more. And there it is. So next, I'm going to show you how to change inks or clean the fountain pen. So first of all, unscrew this up again. You can either remove this part or do it through the nib again. It's up to you. And use the lever to push it back into the bottle. Now, whether you put it back into the bottle is up to you, because again, it can introduce bacteria into the bottle, but I've never had a problem with it. And that was a lot of ink that I didn't want to waste. So if you only have a little bit left in the pen, I wouldn't recommend putting it back in the bottle. Just clean it out. So next, I recommend having 2 waters. Now, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull from one bottle. I'm going to pull from one bottle and empty out into the other. This just helps keep the water potentially cleaner for longer. And I'm just going to keep on doing this until the water runs clear. Now, I probably did a few more passes than I needed to there, but now you can see the pen is clean and it's ready for another ink. I would recommend that drying off either with a paper towel or leaving it overnight before introducing it to another ink. But if you want to change the inks and you want to go now, you can go now. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to do quickly is just swatch all of the inks for you. Now you can do this a few ways. You can do this with Q-tips, but I don't have any to hand right now, and I do have an old paintbrush, so. And I'm just going to steal the ink from the top of the lids. That's the blue. That's the blue-green. And that's the green. I hope this video will help you get started with the fountain pen. I can't wait to see what you do with it. Let me know in the comments which of these ink colours you want to try first, and if this is your first time trying a fountain pen or not. See you in the next video.